left hand while coming back with the right hook. Okay? You got it? With your jab, your jab, your jab.
Looking for more combinations and clusters of punches, quite clearly from Keith Holmes, the cornerman. How have you got it at the moment, Glenn? I have Holmes in a lead, a narrowish lead.
Yes, I've just got Holmes very slight, a 1-point winner, a 1-point leader at this point.
Sixth round. Just wonder whether the judges may have it slightly wider, because there's been not very much in 2 or 3 of these rounds, and in those circumstances I wonder whether the judges have gone down on the side of the champion.
But certainly I think, judging by the tone of Holmes's corner, I don't think they're overly impressed with the champion's work, and we want him just to do a little more himself. They're looking for a few more combinations, a little bit more devil in Holmes's work.
Actually, Woodall bringing an injury into the fight reminds me of Tony Simpson when he challenged Marvin Hagler for the world middleweight title in Worcester, Massachusetts. He was unable to spar for 2 or 3 weeks before the fight, and well, it was a pretty impossible job anyway.
Lloyd Honeyghan, who battled through injury to defeat Don Curry.
Well, that was one of the great British ones in America, wasn't it? Unbelievable, because Curry was regarded at the time as best pound for pound in the world. I just wonder whether Woodall is showing Holmes a bit too much respect here, as Holmes again has a cautionary word from the referee, Arthur McCante Senior. No point deductions or anything like that so far.
And you wonder if Holmes maybe is just starting to get a little frustrated, his work just going astray at times. And really that could be down to the good boxing, good defensive work from Woodall.
Woodall just showing 1 or 2 signs in this round of stepping it up a bit. Making Holmes miss there, frustrating him. And I just wonder whether that is starting to get to Holmes a little bit. I don't know how highly he really regarded Woodall. He probably barely heard of him, truth to be told.
Yes, but I think he's always going to respect an undefeated record.
No doubt about it. If Woodall can do this, he's certainly a fighter who's paid his dues. He's waited a long time, kept hanging around, sidetracked, ignored. Certainly is well overdue the chance. Now he's really got to take it. This is not Marvin Hagler in front of him. It's not Nino Benvenuti. It's not Carlos Monzon. This is a beatable fighter, all right.
Yes, and he does look to have just frustrated Holmes a little bit. Holmes been made to miss quite a lot in this round, and I think a good round for Woodall.
Much, much better from Woodall there in round 6.
A lack of confidence can come from a phobia, being frightened, snakes or spiders, and a fear of small spaces. But that's one phobia we can help you with.
New Citroen Saxo is available with power steering, specially engineered to give maximum power.
Well, Richie Woodall really showed signs there of stepping up the tempo and maybe even seizing the initiative in that 6th round. He's now got to build on that, and British boxing hoping that in his second half of the fight, Woodall can do enough to go home with the WBC middleweight championship. Now you've got it even now, Glenn. I've got it about the same as that.
Yes, Woodall just doing a little more, and certainly there look signs that he's starting to frustrate Holmes. Holmes, who's been made to miss a great deal in this fight, and good counters from Woodall again.
There's a more troubled look at this stage on Holmes's face. He looks much more tentative with that jab, and now, oh wow, a little distressing glance to the referee as if to complain about something. good again from Woodall. Left hook.
Yes, this is much better because he's finishing.
Driven right uppercut there, though, by Holmes.
I was just saying he was finishing the work so much better there, Woodall, before he ran into that good uppercut.
And there was another one that followed it. Just at a point where Woodall was really doing some of his best work in the contest. Two good-looking uppercuts by Holmes. The Woodall took those punches well, didn't he?
He took them very well. The first uppercut really rocked the head up in the air. But Woodall just got to get back to his boxing. Don't let Holmes take the play away from him at any point.
Holmes, who's unbeaten for 6 years, since losing to the journeyman Royan Hammond in 1990. Hammond, in fact, was beaten by Woodall. Wouldn't read too much into that if I were you. Holmes has beaten people like Kelsey Banks, Darrell Lattimore, Andrew Council, fringe-type contenders, as well as his big win over Quincy Taylor for the title. Signs that this is just beginning to hot up a bit, aren't they now?
Yes, I think as both fighters get a little more tired, they're going to stand a little closer. But certainly I wouldn't think, barring the uppercut that Woodall had against him, I think it's been a pretty good round for Woodall.
He certainly looks to have grown in confidence, Richie Woodall, as this has gone on. No real signs either that the injury is incapacitating him too badly.
No, he's used the right hand, he's used it well. He's been a little sparing with it, but I think that's just been the nature of the contest.
Not a bad round again, that, for Woodall. Now, we've heard what Glenn McCrory thinks of things. What about Barry McGuigan? Barry?
Yeah, I think that was a pretty even round, although the right uppercut from Holmes was got through with a pretty devastating power. He took it very well and came back in the end of the round. I thought he won the latter half of the round, but this uppercut was pretty impressive. Look at the way he snaps Woodall's head back, and I can see inherent differences in the style here, and Holmes is basically closing the distance down. I hope Richie can hold him off, because although it's very close, I still think that the Holmes is getting very dangerous.
Thanks very much indeed, Barry McGuigan, former world featherweight champion, with his views on how things are going so far. You wouldn't have thought that there would be an awful lot in it, but there's really no telling how the judges might be seeing this, with so many rounds on the closest side into round 8. I think the lesson here for Woodall, or the message to him, is he's got to put this really quite beyond doubt in these last few rounds. If he can, easy for us to say, harder for him to do.
Yes, he can't really leave anything to chance, but certainly I've been pleased with his boxing in the last few rounds, and I thought his work rate was better in the last round, barring the good uppercut. He did some good work.
Caught by a good counter there was Woodall. He's coming forward now, Woodall, and of course that gives Holmes the opportunity to become the counter-puncher, which he may relish a little more. Woodall was saying on the build-up to this fight, he's better than people think. I rate him, and I hope he doesn't rate me, because he's going to get a shock. Well, I wonder if Holmes has got a shock. Not too big a one so far, must be said.
But I think Holmes will be a little surprised at how good a boxer Woodall is. I think he's managed to frustrate Holmes, certainly, and his defensive work has been good, with good counter-punching, although never really exciting.
Good doubling up on the jab, and then a right hand from Woodall. essentially you've got two technicians in there together, haven't you? So there's not the clash of styles that sometimes makes for the most explosive and exciting fights, but is absorbing in its own way, particularly with the stakes being so high.
That's right, and at this stage in the fight, it's still very much poised for one or either of the fighters just to really get a foothold and do a little more work and take really a hold of this fight.
I must say I'd feel happier about Woodall's chances if this fight was now taking place somewhere in the Midlands. That looked a low blow by Woodall, that right hand. That's your first warning, says Arthur McCanty. Typical unfussy performance from him. You've hardly noticed him in there. Last few seconds of the round, and again it was on the closest side that round.
The Toon Army are going through the emotions. Yes! Off today's live football on Sky Sports.
Well, it's a determined effort by Richie Woodall, but is it enough? There was a low blow in that last round from Woodall there.
Yes, it was a pretty bad one. I wouldn't worry about it so much for Woodall. He's got a, you know, it's not a bad ploy just to try and rough Holmes up a little bit. Probably unintentional, but I wouldn't worry if I were Woodall.
No point deduction for that. Really is a no-nonsense character. He actually does his training some of the time to George Formby records. He may be the first boxer in history to prepare himself while listening to When I'm Cleaning Windows. Usually it's rap music and garage stuff, isn't it, these days?
Yes, the Rocky theme.
And he doesn't support Liverpool or Manchester United. It's West Bromwich Albion for Richie. Not too far from his home in Telford, Shropshire. Certainly all the West Brom players I know will be watching this and urging Richie on.
And that's how I have it. I still have Woodall just having a slight lead with some good work in the last few rounds, but still the fight very, very close.
The 9th round, of course, was the one in which Keith Holmes completed the job against Quincy Taylor in Las Vegas. And then sat in the corner for about 5 minutes after the fight, cuddling his little girl, I seem to remember. He was in tears of joy. Well, it's Woodall who wants the tears of joy here.
Yes, that was quite a surprise, that win for Holmes, but Taylor he was let down a little bit, but he didn't have the mobility, certainly not the mobility that Woodall has at this point.
Just losing his footing there on the surface, Woodall. There's some problem there. Somebody's spilt something, and it is not a cup of tea in the middle of the ring. Very evenly matched, these two.
Yes, they really are. They're both good stylists. But Holmes just trying to pick it up, take the eye at the end of the round here.
Some quite big left hands getting in from Holmes. His best work for some time, and Woodall just holding on for a moment. I think one of those did hurt him.
Well, that would have certainly given Holmes some confidence. And this is where Woodall really has to show some character.
It's so difficult to come to the United States and win a world championship fight, particularly against an American. This has been Holmes's round for me so far, though.
Yes, he's just picked the pace up a little bit, just forced the fight, just beat Woodall to the punch for the most part of this round.
Last 10 seconds of the 9th round. Holmes seems to like 9th rounds, doesn't he?
There are many different ways to communicate, but usually the simplest are the most effective. So at Nokia, we make it as easy as possible for you. Nokia, connecting people.
Keith Holmes, the WBC middleweight champion. Will he still be the champion in about 10 minutes' time? Certainly had a good 9th round against Britain's Richie Woodall.
Yes, you'd feel Woodall needs a little bit more urgency in his work. He'd probably let that round slip. I would have it back to even, but I think Woodall has just kept off the boil. He really needs a lot more urgency. He's got to try and go out there now in the closing stages and grab a hold of this title.
Woodall needs a big finish. Because I think if we've got it about level, it's a pretty fair bet that maybe the judges here in America have probably got Holmes ahead by a couple. What do you think?
Yes, you would think that, but Holmes, he's got Woodall on the back foot now. Woodall not being able to land the counters that he was earlier in the fight.
He has to match this fire, Woodall. I think Holmes's corner have really shaken him up in the last couple of rounds. I think they've told him to go out there and make sure that he holds onto this title that he won in such a shock victory. Mind you, he's been a little bit lucky, Holmes, in one respect. When he fought Quincy Taylor had a bandage around his knee. Do you remember that? He could hardly walk. He didn't look as if he should have been in the ring. And here's Woodall carrying an injury into the fight as well. Holmes has re-seized the initiative over the last 5 minutes or so.
Because he just looks the stronger of the two at this point. He's the one that's looking to get the scent of the ring and try and push Woodall on the back foot.
Good countering right hand there from Woodall. He's not the kind of fighter you can take too many liberties with, Richie Woodall.
No, Woodall, very technical, very well schooled, good upright boxer.
But sometimes in the States they don't like that European style too much, not in love with it.
And again, Holmes having the better of it, a good southpaw jab, rocks the head back of Woodall.
Missing with the right hand again. That's exactly the scenario that gives a lot of pain to Woodall after that operation so very recently. Last half a minute of a 10th round, which has again belonged to the champion. Well, we think anyway.
Yes, I would think that the stronger work in this round has come from Holmes. Woodall just looking a little, his time is going a bit, looking a little bit more ragged.
Much snappier, Keith Holmes now. It's almost like he's got a kind of second wind. And he may be just pulling away a little. Well, is Richie Woodall's dream dying before his eyes here?
Richie, they're the most important 2 rounds of your life.
Now listen, listen to me what I'm going to say to you. This is more important than the last round, the 11th round, because if you get in front, he's going to catch you up. You've got to win this round, you hear me? Whatever happens, because the last round you'll do it again. All right? Yeah. Give him a quick gargle.
Richie, take this one. If you win this one, you'll win the last.
Well, there it is, that Midlands accent of Richie Woodall, listening intently in the corner. Holmes looks quite fresh. and has certainly been performing as if he's pretty fresh in the last couple of rounds. I think the situation is getting close to desperate for Woodall at this stage.
I think it is, and I think you can just tell by the attitude in the two corners. The Woodall's corner feel that they're probably a little bit behind. They're trying to psych their man up. They want something a little bit special.
Well, you heard what Mickey Duff said to Woodall. You're about to fight the most important 2 rounds of your life. Glenn's scorecard with Holmes just a point ahead. I've got it a little more than that now myself. I think whatever the margin, I would put a pretty strong bet on the fact that Holmes is ahead on the scorecards.
Yes, Woodall equipping himself very well, showing good boxing skills, good counter punching, but he just needs a bit more urgency, a bit more devil in his work, and we feared that would maybe a problem for Woodall in a fight like this against a stylist, and a stylist who's the southpaw.
How much does Woodall have left? Just the feeling, really, if one was being hypercritical of Woodall, who otherwise has put in a courageous and competent performance, that he maybe just lacks a little in the change of gears department.
Yes, he's kept it all pretty much one pace. There's never been a point where he's really picked up the pace, tried to pin Holmes down and try and work him over a little bit, catch the judge's eye and just try and get a lead in this fight.
Fair right hand from him, but a better one back from Holmes. And he's on the run again for a moment, Woodall. Can he find a real humdinger of a punch from somewhere, maybe to just get Holmes going? There's not really been much sign of that, has there? Champion looks confident. It's good from Woodall, though. He's trying to answer the pleas of his cornermen, but I think he's tired, and is there a bit of blood by the nose now?
Yes, the face just a little banged up of Woodall. Around the right eye, he's swelled. That's coming from the long left hands, the crisp left hands from Holmes. Holmes just has a more confident swagger about his work here.
He looks the stronger and fresher, doesn't he, at this stage? He's not a spectacular champion by any stretch of the imagination, Keith Holmes, but he's competent and workmanlike and cool. Last 5 seconds of a round where Woodall really hasn't done enough to steal the play away again from the champion.
Yes, the corner asked for something special from Woodall, but he didn't really deliver. He tried, but he was always just behind. He was always just beaten to the punch. A more confident look from Holmes in the 11th round, and you've got to feel now that he's just pulling away slightly, and a troubled look on Woodall's face.
Okay, Arthur, thank you, Arthur. You hear me? This is the last round. We're king or country. Put your head back.
For king or country. Denny Mancini's last attempt to psych Woodall up to something special, but I think they've seen enough. Mickey Duff and Denny Mancini there, and Richie Woodall's dad Len in the corner there. I think in their heart of hearts they know that he probably hasn't done enough here.
Yes, I'm sure they think he's give his all, but he's just been outworked a bit. He has a good boxing head on his shoulders, but he's just been beaten to the punch at times. And Holmes has just looked a little more confident, and in the later stages he's just getting a little more control on this fight.
Well, I'll tell you something, my heart goes out to Richie Woodall. I mean, he's waited so long for this chance. What horrible bad luck that he should need an operation 9 days before the world title fight. I mean, that really is the most awful misfortune for him.
And that's obviously going to play on the mind. You've got your biggest chance, and then you've got an injured arm to take in the fight. At a time like that, when you have a world title fight, you don't want no small handicaps just to play on your mind.
I think it certainly affected him early on in the fight when he did seem particularly tentative. And I know the game plan a few weeks ago was to really go in there and almost have a war with Holmes, but he's kind of been unable to do that. But give Holmes credit as well. He's a difficult man to get to, and in these closing stages he's punching harder, doing more, and he's right on top now.
Woodall trying to keep his boxing together in this late stage in the fight. Holmes just trying to overawe Woodall now, just trying to get on top and finish really big.
Well, Robin Reed went away from home to pick up the WBC super middleweight title last week in Italy, but this does not look good at this stage. And what is it, 75 seconds to go for Richie Woodall as he goes for the WBC's middleweight title on foreign soil. Oh, big left hook. Oh, and down he goes, Woodall. The left hook it was, the first left hook, I think, that really did the damage. The follow-up punch for good measure. Blood from the nose. And is he going to have the indignity of getting stopped here, Woodall? Banged up around the face, bruising by the right eye, blood from the nose, floored in the 12th, and that's put it beyond all argument. And is Holmes here going to finish the argument so the judges won't be needed? He might well be. Terrible moments for Woodall here. Can he get through the final 40 seconds? The referee was close to stopping the fight there, and he has stopped it. With what, 28 seconds to go, Richie Woodall is stopped. And that's terrible for him, and keep on.